So overall, what we learned from the Biden State of the Union is that the Democrats and Republicans have made love to each other when it comes to war, when it comes to immigration, when it comes to the pandemic, and when it comes to also, of course, this Ukraine, Russia issue, particularly their mutual hatred for Putin and their mutual love for the police. Overall, Joe Biden was pro-police, pro-war, you know, and you had Mitch McConnell there, you had Ted Cruz, all of them clapping along with AOC and the squad. I mean, they were all just clapping and showing their proud Ukrainian flags. But the thing that stole the night, the performance of the night, was Kamala Harris's face. When Joe Biden mistaken Ukraine for Iran and said the Iranian people instead of the Ukrainian people. Now, people have said maybe he said Iranian, which would imply a whole other level of things that we won't even get to today, because uranium is a whole.
Is there people from Uranium? Is that a town? Because he could have said Uranus. I don't know.
He could have talked about the uranium, you know, shit that he got into back then. But I think he's just confused. But let's just watch, because I really enjoyed Kamala's face here. And let's just listen.
Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their love of freedom, and he will never weaken the resolve of the free world.
So if you didn't catch that, he said Putin may encircle Kyiv with tanks, but he will never know the hearts of the Iranian people like we did.
Why can't they say Kiev? I mean, why is it so hard? Kiev. How badly did she hate Biden, though? Like, I mean, she can't stand him. She can't stand him at all.
And she's not good herself either as an actress. I mean, she's a terrible actress. But somebody also had commented under this video, why does Biden always look like he's looking at the brightest sun in the world? And you know what? I don't know if the lights are too bright for him. Maybe, you know, maybe we need to get tech in here, but he does constantly look like.
He looks like one of those puppets, those Muppets that have the squinted eye. He looks like Steve mentioned it today.
The one Johnny put up yesterday from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It's the puppet from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He looks exactly like him. I forgot I was going to put the photo up.
The ones with the big bushy eyes and you can't see him and stuff. What was the bald eagle guy? Like Mr. Eagle guy. That one, the bald eagle guy, like the Muppet.
Oh, that's Sesame Street, right? Yeah.
I think it might be, but I think they're all the same creator. He created Joe Biden too as well.
Well, I said the other puppet was at least better at being a puppet than this one. So here's another gaffe, because I think we need to go over geography. You know how they always make fun of Americans? We can't point to shit on a map. Well, Joe Biden is a prime example.
Our forces are not going to Europe to fight Ukraine.
Hey, Pasta, I have $1 million question.
West Asia?
Is Ukraine?
I mean,
where is Ukraine located? I would like to know.
I don't know, but I just know what's coming next, and I'm going to start laughing my ass off because, even if you say Eastern Europe, then like, okay, we'll let you off. It's really Western Asia, right? Is that the technical?
No.
Where's it at?
Ukraine is Europe. Ukraine is Europe.
Isn't it Eastern Europe?
Yeah, but it's still Europe. He said we're not going to go into Europe to go into Ukraine. That's the gap. And you just gaffed the gap.
I gaffed the gaff.
You proved to be a typical.
There you go, guys. Ukraine. I can never be the president of the United States. Do not hire me.
You can, because you and Biden,
Well, I would do what this next person did just to cover it up, fam.
Yeah, so this is the same energy, fams. This is a little comical. It's a little lighthearted segment right now. Not really. But.
Okay. Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
I wish she would have said, "What the fuck did you just say?"
That was Biden's moment. Oz, you should show that picture. Oz has a picture he needs to show. You should show it.
Show it, Oz.
Okay, put it in the deck. It's hilarious. Okay, guys. So that, this is like the lighthearted part of the segment, because within that, they were promoting violence against Russia and Putin and war and imperialism. And also one of the things that was notable, of course, about the Biden administration is the fact that they're pro-cop. Like we told a lot of people from the start, the people that were saying they were going to mitigate damage.
Yeah.
The Biden administration, crime bill Joe, were always going to be extremely, extremely pro-police. And so Biden was basically promoting funding the police. He said, we're not going to defund the police. We're going to fund the police.
Yep.
And I just think back, Pasta, at all the activists that were basically, kind of trying to shame us for not voting for Joe Biden and for talking about how this is promoting him is basically promoting more of the same, if not worse, than Trump, because we knew the media was going to hide it. Anytime he did something, the media was going to hide it. So I don't know if you want to say anything to that real quick.
Well, here's the thing. Whether you're pro-police or anti-police, whatever position you stand on, whether you believe they should be more funded or not funded, the fact is that he told us they got behind this. This was one of their campaign slogans, right? When it was the primary, it was all about, we're going to defund the police, which meant that you're going to take some form of action, whether it be demilitarizing, whether you be restructuring some of the way the police forces are around the country are structured, meaning, in other words, they can't investigate themselves, whatever the case may be. It looked like you were making it sound like you're going to take some crack at, reformation. You didn't. As soon as you got in, as soon as you didn't need the progressives and the primary was over, you got right back into this pro-police stance, which is very much like, a conservative stance. And whether you believe in that to be right or wrong, he lied. He told you something different when he was running. And then he completely changed his stance, and this is his first State of the Union. It's completely different than what he said when he was running in the progressive, it's not the progressive, when he was running in the Democratic primaries. Completely different. When he told the progressives that he was going to have some form, of changing the way we see police today.
Exactly. And he lied, because we didn't expect that from a Republican. But a lot of progressives voted believing, of course, naively, that he would do something about it when they were just weaponizing BLM, to that whole extent. So on Politico reported what he said we should all agree the answer is not to defund the police, it is to fund the police. And he, of course, received extremely strong applause, with cameras showing McCarthy and House Minority Whip Steve Scalise clapping and giving him a standing ovation. Fund them with resources and training. I mean, he was just cheering about all of that. And by the way, I skipped one of my favorite parts because I went straight to the policing. One of the main acts of last night was this little moment by Nancy Pelosi.
When she was shape-shifting?
When she was shape-shifting, as people claimed, this is from Luke We Are Change, posted that Nancy was there. And I just said, I'll have what she's having.
I know.
because
I saw that everybody took a little gaff right there and went, let's go. But it was kind of crazy. I'm like, what the hell is she doing? And let me just say this much. All these people need to go. They're doing this right in front of your face. The BS, the lies, the gaslighting, the pretending like they've been doing something for the American people for years. We've been set back as far as a working class, as far as our lifestyle. We've been set back 20, 30 years, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's forget about it. We can't own houses. We can only rent our generation. Most of the people your age, fam, are now just strapped with college debt. That was ridiculous, where it was so much more expensive than when our parents went to school. Everything has changed, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Somebody gets in, they give you nothing. They haven't done a thing, not a single thing for the working class people, and yet they want to sell you shit and tell you it's ice cream. Shame on them.
it doesn't. And my generation has experienced 2 recessions, a pandemic, the housing crash. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and now
And war, right?
endless war since before like some people were born. So I mean, it's insane, and it hasn't stopped. And there's no student debt forgiveness. His wife couldn't, convince him, which we know it's not on Jill. We know it's but they refuse. So we have to laugh.
Yeah.
In the moment at these fucking people, because these people are idiots. These people are charlatans. They're actors. Nobody took that serious. You could go through the internet. In fact, the word trash was trending online, because that's what this whole thing was. It was a circus show, but it was extreme trash. They offered 0 solutions, just a bunch of garbage, word salad, and virtue signaling. 0 solutions. Nobody took it seriously. I am just waiting for people to understand that they need to do something to stop this. And it's going to require people not voting every 4 years. It's going to require more than that. So let's just laugh at Nancy for a second.
Burn pits. Many of you have been there. I've been in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan 7 times.
What is she doing?
These burn pits that incinerate waste, the waste of
What
war.
is she doing, fam?
I guess she's excited for war, or excited for her stocks. Excited.
Wow.
I mean, she's excited about something. I don't know what they gave her, but like, damn, she was having a great time. I'm like, damn, I'll have what she's having, for real.
I mean, by the way, when we're talking about war too as well, like, you and Jonny haven't never lived in peacetime. I've lived in peacetime. Me and Oz have lived in peacetime, but it's been so long ago that we can't even remember it. That's how long it is. One conflict after the other. Even my mom caught on. She said, when I spoke to her today, she goes, I can't believe they took RT off the air. She goes, I can't believe it. And she would watch it every day. She would go to it and check it out, along with her Fox shows. I would get her to say, hey, check it out. And she loved it. And she thought it was unbiased. She thought it was a different side. She didn't even think it was biased. Like, she even realized that state TV in the States is way more biased than the TV over there. So she can't even believe it was taken off. You know what I'm saying, fam? And it's just, it's one thing after the other. I tweeted yesterday, how long are you people going to take this? This is now in your face. They're doing this. They're not changing anything. And it's not going to change, fam, like you said, until we do something about it. Enough is enough. These people are gross. They are disgusting. I know the State of the Union is normally for, like, kind of fluffing up what's going on, but this was just the worst. This was just, awful, nauseating. I wanted to vomit the whole time.
And fam, Oz has a little surprise for you. Look who's right next to Biden. Gotta say, you look better.
That's Jeff Dunham's Walter, his ventriloquist dummy, and then we've got Kamala Putin up there and Nancy AOC, and then Oz was ready to stand in for Joe Biden last night, and I think I would have done a better job than Joe. So anyway, that's in another dimension.
Yes, it is. It's hilarious. So another person that was. Another person that was clapping like a seal and I don't want to insult seals, but like, you know, like a walrus. I don't know. Like they were just like clapping, like all of them. They were all Republican, conservative, Democratic, socialist, and like all these people all clapping for Biden. Like, you know, like it was obviously programmed. But AOC did a little interview with our best friend, Rachel Maddow, who I thought she was retiring. Can she freaking retire already? Where she was talking about refugees and the importance of refugees. So let's hear what she has to say, and then we'll talk about what she said.
Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, one of the things that you were just talking about in terms of the president's treatment of the issue of immigration, talking to immigrants, talking about dreamers, for example, I wanted to get your take on something that we know is coming, which is the massive refugee crisis that we are about to see in Europe that is caused by the Russian attack on Ukraine. So far, authorities say there's already 2/3 of a million people who have been displaced. We will likely see millions of people displaced. And not just in our country, but around the world, we have seen refugees and immigrants not just scapegoated, but demonized in a way that tends to cross over into all sorts of politics. Now that we know a huge new migration is going to start because of that war, do you have caution or words of advice or lessons learned for your own party, for American politics generally, in terms of how to be smarter about those politics, about the inevitable demonization of those victimized people?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I think the world is watching, and many immigrants and refugees are watching. And how the world treats Ukraine should be, and Ukrainian refugees, should be how we are treating all refugees in the United States. I mean, especially when you look at such stark juxtapositions where so many of the factors are in common with Syria, for example. The way the world treated Syrian refugees versus the way that the world is greeting Ukrainian refugees is a very stark contrast. And I think that the way that we are looking at immediate granting of TPS to Ukrainian refugees, which is what we need to be doing, as well as many others, is something that we really need to keep in mind, because I do believe that, for example, the thousands of people who tried to seek legal refuge on our southern border, how Haitian refugees have been treated by the United States, not just in past administrations, but frankly this one, is not right. And we really need to make sure that when we talk about accepting refugees, that we are meaning it for everybody, no matter where you come from. But I do believe that this also presents a profound opportunity because of the amount of extraordinary support for Ukraine and Ukrainian refugees. If we grant TPS to Ukrainian refugees, this is also an opportunity to finally create a path to citizenship for TPS recipients. A lot of people don't know that TPS recipients, by and large, do not really have a concrete path to citizenship. Many have been here for decades. So I think that this is also, while there is a risk, there's also a profound opportunity for us to make the crooked path straight on this issue.
Wow, fam, how convenient now that we can mention that war leads to migration, and the fact that she'll just throw out Syria and the fact that she'll throw out Haitians. I don't remember her telling that we should give, residency and allow some of the refugees from Haiti that came in to come into the country. She just mentions it now because people were calling her out on that. And in fact, they got a whipping from some, a few of them got a couple whippings and then got thrown on a plane and got sent back to Haiti. That to me was the big part, like sending them back to Haiti, a lot of them, whatnot, and what are we going to do now? Who the first people going to be allowed to come over here are going to be, right? I'm saying a lot of the Azov battalion, friends of the Western regime that listened to the United States that caused these problems. That's who we're going to take care of first to come on over here, fam. I mean, I'm sure there are some Ukrainians that will come over that are not neo-Nazis. Once again, I think it's a small minority over there, but it's a strong minority because it's all in the government and all in through the military and whatnot, and they caused a lot of fucking problems. You couldn't control those people. But who we're going to grant asylum to first, fam? It's always the people who are friendly to the government first. We know this. Who listen to them? That's going to be who's coming in. And it's just so convenient that Sandy can now mention this whatsoever. I mean, the woman is such a fake. She's such a phony. Is that a Ukraine pin on her shirt?
No, is it? I think, yeah, it is. I think at the bottom.
Because they were all wearing
so it's like a little flag.
They were all wearing it.
So the reason I showed this clip is because a lot of people are going to say, she's saying the right things, Fiorella. She's talking about the differences between Syria and how Syrians are treated and how Haitians are treated, something that, we have been drawing attention to for a while, and that we continue to draw attention to. So I want everybody to understand that is her role. She is controlled opposition. So she will say these right things, obviously, when it's safe to say them. Kind of like there is the controlled opposition, quasi, not really independent media, the progressive media. It's the same way. They will say the right things every now and then, especially when it's safe to do so. But their primary role is to really not push for any actual change, because they wait until their handlers tell them it's okay to speak out against something, when in action, they might give you nice words, but in action, let's look at what AOC has done. She never spoke out against the bombing of Syria. She never said very much about the Palestinians, besides the virtue signal. We saw what Keaton did, right? When she voted to fund, present, which led to the passage of the bill to fund the Iron Dome, which, guess what, is killing Palestinians. And they also formulated a nice little plan to sanction Cambodia. She never talked about the Haitian immigrants, as Pasta just mentioned, until now. So also, she has stood for terrible legislation when it comes to foreign policy, even in the very beginning when she delegated the caucus leadership on Venezuela, when she stood with the fascist coup plotters of Bolivia. I could go on and on and on.
Both sides, Cuba. Yeah.
So yeah, both siding Cuba and not saying anything about the Renacer Act in Nicaragua.
Yeah, not a goddamn thing. Yeah.
And so I don't, and her voting record, it's just only going to get worse, because we saw her agreeing with all the bullshit that Biden was saying. We've seen her tweets that I didn't even put here, her tweets on this situation where Russia is the aggressor and Russia is starting this war. So don't for a second think that AOC is somehow, has these good intentions, that she's trying to speak directly to the very, very moronic and still extremely naive progressive contingent. Yeah. So she can keep dragging them along so they can continue voting Democrat, so that she can continue sheep herding them, just like sheep herder Bernie Sanders. The same exact thing. That's it. They're controlled opposition at this point. And the reason I show that is so people stop getting duped, that because she says a couple of good points here and there, that she's somehow changed her tune. You have to watch their actions and their legislative votes. And that it's as simple as that.
And I just kind of funny, because I think you read my mind, because I was going to mention that, is like, why is she doing this? And how is she getting away with it? Because once again, virtue signaling and rhetoric mean more than policy and actual positions when it comes to these progressives. We know these progressives, they're very reactionary, right? You saw them right away with the whole some of these people we know, it's like there's no nuance to their game whatsoever. Oh, if Russia does imperialism, we got to stop that too. And they're in the streets talking all this stuff. It's like, hello. She also hasn't connected the dots and explained to her people, like on 2014 is the reason why we're in the situation we're in today. I didn't hear her crying for any of the people in the Donbass. That was okay, right? I mean, the fact that close to 15,000 of them have been slaughtered since we armed neo-Nazis in the Azov battalion who refused to even listen to Zelensky when Zelensky told them to stand down. They didn't give a shit. They wanted to kill Russians, and that was on our dime, our weaponry, and they did that. Right? And she didn't connect the dots at all. So right off the bat, she's just a fake fugazi politician. She's there for one reason, and she does a good job at it, but she does a good job. Why? Because the progressives are reactionary, emotional, and they don't believe in policy. They believe in rhetoric and virtue signaling, and she gives them just that.
And this whole thing is a giant virtue signal with the Ukrainian flags. And yesterday, when they were talking about it, it was just one gigantic virtue signal. And the last thing I want to mention about the Biden State of the Union was the fact that they started shouting like a Trump, like it was like a Trump rally.
USA?
Right? USA, USA, USA. And those are the chants that a lot of these neo-progressive skinny jean left, faux whatever, right? Synthetic leftists, you want to all, they were like, I hate that. Oh my God, the patriotism, the nationalism, and these Trump supporters, look at how they're shouting. They're so like patriotic and nationalist. Oh, that's okay now because it's Joe Biden and because it's the Democrats and because now you are waving a fucking Ukrainian flag that you didn't even know anything about Ukraine like 2 weeks ago, but suddenly now it's all over your Facebook profile, your Twitter profile, your Instagrams. They're constantly posting about it. It's one fucking giant virtue signal because they're being propagandized by the next narrative that takes over. Forget COVID. Hate Putin, love Ukraine. There you go. And they just go right along with it and right along with it. Is disgusting.
They didn't even know what Donbass was. They thought Donbass was a new like appetizer at their Korean barbecue restaurant. Like, no, it's a region in Eastern Ukraine, everybody. Like literally these progressives didn't even know what's going on now because that's why, because all they do is they tap in to the mainstream media sources, even though they know from the get-go, supposedly when we started this quest, that was the number one enemy, was the mainstream media. They're going to lie, propagandize. They're going to dupe us. So let's go to other sources. And they went away from a lot of these other sources because people like Sandy, the Squad, the Cory Bushes, the Pramila Jayapal, all these people duped them and moved them away, including your boy Rokfin too yesterday as well.
Yeah. And speaking of controlled opposition, there's Mehdi Hassan's little tweet. So he said, strong speech from Biden overall. Where the hell, what fantasy world are you living in where you thought this was a strong speech from Biden? From Ukraine to the economy to COVID, strong content and aspirations. You have to be getting paid for this, honey. Still, a fundamental problem with it. He called on Congress to pass lots of important, admirable bills, but it won't because of the filibuster that he supports. Okay, so you see what they do here? These people, they're like strong, blah, blah, blah. They have to praise the current administration because if they don't, they won't have a career. But then they also have to give a little bit of acceptable criticism to seem like they're nonpartisan and that they're critical thinkers and that they're very well balanced.
I'm radicals. I'm pushing against the machine.
Yeah,
what Oz just
filibuster, really? Like,
yeah,
Jesus Christ. And then you have here Mr. fucking, and I left this on purpose, the kiss that he's giving to Joe Biden. It's not Crystal anymore, it's Joe. Sorry, Crystal. So he said, Biden going full populist in the speech, strong, hashtag State of the Union. I mean, full populist. In what world do you think any of his speech?
He's got new bosses, fam.
Populist.
Fam, he's got new bosses.
Well, he's got a new boss, that's for sure.
Yep.
You know who wears the pants in that relationship. But guys, so here's the thing. He's trying to frame it that because Biden was giving red meat to the Republicans, that means that's not populism. That's establishment, like bipartisanship. That's not populism. Get your shit together. Like this is ridiculous. So anyway, that's that section.